Hi,
Hi,
welcome.
everyone.
Welcome to our webinar, Enterprise Talks. So whilst we just let everyone jump on, what we'll do is, first of all, a little bit of housekeeping. So if you've got any questions for us, please just drop them in the box on the left. I'm probably putting it in the wrong way, but one of those. And we'll come back to you after the session if you've got any questions. So in the interest of time, we want to keep this really short and sharp, so we're going to jump straight into it. And just a quick introduction, obviously our talk today is on 5 common dirty data issues and how to avoid them. My name is Hannah. I work for the enterprise team as the marketing lead, and my wonderful co-host can introduce herself.
Yeah, so my name is Melina and I look after Sensis Data Solutions. And what I do there is just look after all the marketing activity for that brand.
Fabulous. All right. So that's us. Okay, let's jump in. We're going to be talking about how data enables customer connections. So over to you, Mel. Take us away. This is your speciality.
Yeah, so I'll just do a bit of an introduction about Sensis Data Solutions for those who don't know much about us. So basically, yes, we are a data business, and what we do is help other businesses validate and clean their databases to be able to reach and connect with their customers better.
Fabulous. All right. Short and sharp. White Pages Enterprise. So we deal with business data, so what that looks like into the outside world and to your customers. So that's a mixture of directories, but also our online solution as well. But let's just talk about data moving forward. All right, so agenda, we're getting right into it. So thanks for everyone for joining. I can see you all arriving, so welcome. Right, what are you going to learn in our webinar today? So we're going to talk about the impact of dirty data, the 5 issues that commonly erode the quality of a database, and also how to avoid these issues from compromising your customer data. So we're just talking customer data, we're not talking business data today. That's just really clear. All right, take it away, Melina. What is the impact for dirty data?
Awesome. Really important question, Hannah. So data is probably your most important asset in today's world. It helps you provide better products and services to your customers. It helps you increase customer satisfaction, provide personal experiences, and so much more. But today we're going to be focusing on customer contact data. So it really doesn't take long for your database to become out of date. People often move houses, they often change jobs, they update their emails, but what they don't do is let you know when these details change. So your database can become quite invalid or outdated or essentially dirty within a few hours, a few months, a few years. So it's really important that you do stay on top of that data integrity.
Yeah. And I think we've got some stats which are really interesting on this point. So I'm going to just run through them quickly. 39% of Australians have moved in the past 5 years. Hands up, I'm one of them. Moved twice in 5 years. Secondly, 30,000 phone number changes each day. Mind blowing. I did not realize that. And I worked in telco. And 10% of emails in the average database are wrong. Well, we all know about that as marketers, like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Cool. So, and the next thing we're going to look at is around how dirty data damages your business. So this is how the impact of the data immediately into your business. So take us away, Mel.
Yeah, so thinking about this, dirty data can have huge repercussions for your business. It can result in email bounce backs, particularly if you're heavily sending out email campaigns. And if you're doing cold call campaigns, you might be wasting time and resources on calling the wrong number or disconnected numbers. If you're sending mail out, you might be spending money on marketing material that won't be received. Also, you might be offending customers with incorrect details. So imagine receiving a bill and them having your phone number wrong. That can be quite disheartening. And it can also damage that relationship you have with your customer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and another one is just posting direct mail to incorrect addresses. So
Yeah,
if you think about this holistically, dirty data is a huge problem from a time, resource, and money wasting perspective.
cool. All right, so we're going to jump straight now into our 5 common dirty data issues.
Mm,
And I guess we've got problems and some solutions, but also some excellent pro tips that Mel's provided. So
mhm.
let's go. Number 1, we are talking outdated data. So tell us about that, Mel.
Yeah, so outdated data, it's basically useless. It's not accurate. As
Mm,
mentioned before, people's details are frequently changing. And when this happens and you're sending out campaigns left, right, and center, whether that be email campaigns or direct mail
mm,
campaigns, you're essentially sending it to someone who won't receive that mail or that email. So when data is outdated, this can definitely damage the health and accuracy of your database.
absolutely. All right, so we have got a solution to the problem.
Yes, that's always helpful. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I would suggest performing regular phone, email, and address validation data washes. So
Hmm.
what this does is that it helps ensure your contact details on your customer are as current and complete as possible.
Cool. And your pro tip.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend validating phone numbers against the do not call register. So
Mm,
if you're in the business of, I guess, doing outbound cold call campaigns or
mm,
telemarketing calls, you really just don't want to be contacting anyone who has explicitly stated that they actually don't want to be called by you.
mm.
And this can, yeah, just result in a lot of issues down the track for your business and your reputation and just really damage building out that customer relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know, for example, I mentioned earlier, I moved house a few times and I still get mail from the previous occupant. So it's a little bit strange that you've got some really sensitive data and sensitive mail that's coming through, but obviously they don't live there, haven't lived there for like nearly a year now. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
bad customer experience, but it's also worrying for me as a consumer too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. And so, yeah, if your business is sending out direct mail, I would
Mm,
highly recommend using the National Change of Address Validation Service from Australia Post. So what this does is just ensuring that the person you're sending, I guess, your mail to is the person you intended to receive it. And yeah, there is nothing worse than
mm,
um, another, I guess, a stranger receiving a bill that was intended to your customer, which is quite personal and has quite sensitive information. So this will definitely help safeguard you from that situation.
yeah, amazing. All right, let's
Yeah.
get on to issue 2. So we're talking
Mm-hmm.
incomplete data. So run us through the problems.
Yeah, so incomplete data is basically when you have a customer record in your CRM system that is partially completed. So it
Mm,
might be missing information like a phone number, an email address, or physical address. And this can happen when your web form, for example, upfront is that if that is where you're collecting information, doesn't include mandatory fields. So you might be asking for all sorts of contact information, but not making it required that they submit it. And
yeah.
so when this happens, customers or prospective customers do like to provide the bare minimum. I don't see, as a marketer myself, I don't think that your customer or prospective customer is required to provide
Mm,
you all that information.
mm,
So, when signing up to a newsletter and you're asking for a phone number, that can be quite personal. And then,
yeah.
so what your prospective customer might do is just leave that detail out and then submit the form without it. And that's just how you get incomplete customer records through to your CRM.
Yeah. And if you're signing up to a newsletter, you're like, why do you need my phone number? Are you going to call
Yeah,
me? Who takes
exactly.
calls these days? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
All right. So let's run through some of your solutions for this issue for incomplete data.
Yeah, so I would definitely suggest that ensuring your web form or wherever your customer is filling out their personal information, that it collects all valuable points of data. So I would really think about what information or what contact details you ideally want to capture and just asking for what you need.
Mm,
Another I guess, point here that I want to make is maybe providing a reason or incentive to a customer for providing their details.
Yeah.
So, for example, you might provide a 10% discount if they sign up to your social media course today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great options. And I guess obviously incomplete data can also be related to salespeople inputting information. Sorry, sales teams, sorry. But that also can have an impact is that is internal generated data too. So definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have a pro tip for us on this one. So talk us through that.
Always got a pro tip, Hannah.
Yeah.
So I would really just think about what contact details are most important to your business. So what type of business are you and how do you best want to reach your customers? So, is asking for a phone number really right? For example, yeah, if you are an online retailer wanting people to sign up to your newsletter, asking for a phone number might not be appropriate because your main channel of communication might be email. And, as a consumer myself, that's definitely how I like to be communicated with, particularly from e-commerce stores. I want to know what the latest discounts are, whether they're having Black Friday sales or anything like that. So, yeah, so just imagine it might be quite weird if as a consumer, you received a call from an online store and
Yeah.
they notify you, hey, we're having a sale, jump on our website. Like, we don't really expect that. So,
And you'd be like,
yeah.
why? Why? Why are you calling? This is weird.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
just have a think about what channels work best for you to have the right conversations that will be engaging, and really just think about what will help move these prospects further down the sales funnel.
Absolutely. I also love progressive profiling.
Mm.
So, for any of you guys who are not sure what that is, it's where your forms are set up so that you're capturing little bits of data from your customers as you get to know them better. So it might be that you're obviously asking email because that's really important one time, and the next time it might be around phone number, then it could be around birthday, then it could be around other demographics. Obviously, it has to be relevant to what you're selling.
Yeah.
But that works in the B2B space as well as from a consumer, a B2B2C space too. So yeah, some great
Yeah.
points.
That's
All
a really
right.
great point, Hannah. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to add to that before we move on is that
Oh,
that
sorry.
progressive profiling piece, it's less invasive. So as you build that trust with your customer, you can ask for a little bit more information. And I feel like your customer would be willing to provide that over time.
Yeah. I mean, people are sensitive about their data, and that's
Mm.
especially true at the moment with tech. So yeah, very good points. All right. Issue 3, we're coming up. Inaccurate data.
Yeah, we're
Talk to
powering
me.
through this. This is great. So inaccurate data, it's data that is basically wrong and useless. So, the way in which inaccurate data comes about is, for example, someone making a mistake, they might type out their email address wrong, or internal staff inputting data incorrectly. And another way in which inaccurate data comes about is if someone actually purposely supplies incorrect details.
Yes.
And what really comes to mind at this point is, for example, open house inspections, right? You might be wanting to collect potential buyers' phone numbers and email addresses, but they're not necessarily interested in buying the property. They're not committed to investing, but they're just there to kind of suss out what the house looks like and the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and probably just doing a bit of research. And this is where they might just not provide their most recent email address or even a real email address. And this can cause huge errors in your database when it enters it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also if you need to follow up with them or, their prospect, yeah, data gets all muddled up. It's not great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is your solution for this one, Mel?
Yeah, so I would really suggest a live data validation tool. So this would help capture valid data at the point of entry right before it enters your system. And what it does, it validates it at the start so it can check the email that it is active and it can check the phone number that it's still an active service as well. Um, and what happens with the data validation tool is that, for example, an email will pass robust tests that go beyond just syntax errors and really just check whether it is at google.com versus at google.com.au, which is the incorrect email address because there is no .com.au for Gmail email addresses.
Fab.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have your pro tip. Hit us with it.
Yeah. So, this is where a live data validation tool would help. And just to expand on that, utilizing this data validation tool, it does draw on a wide range of trusted data sources to validate, update, and auto-complete live data entry into, say, a web form, app, and another platform that a business might be using. And for us at Sensis Data Solutions, we do draw from a wide range of trusted data sources, which is great. So yeah, just really depending on who you choose to work with, that consumer data that they pull from can vary in volume, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously it also links back to your personalization as well, and making sure that you're getting the right data captured for that customer, but also so that when you're communicating back to them, you're calling them a specific name, or you're not calling them Richard and their name's Hannah, like all those types of things.
Yeah.
Fab.
Exactly.
All right. So our fourth issue is around duplicate data. So talk to us around that too.
Awesome. So thank you so much for sticking with us throughout this. We're up to number 4, which is exciting. So duplicate data, it can mean that you have multiple records in your CRM for one individual. And this can really inflate the number of contacts that you have in your database, making it seem like you have more when you really don't. And this increase in records in your CRM can really just increase the cost of your marketing as well, because you are sending, for example, multiple comms or multiple emails to the same customer, but because you have duplicate records, it looks like it's an individual, and it'll send out the one email to each separate email address, which isn't a good thing, particularly for your email stats. This will definitely affect your open rates, your click-through rates, as well as your response rates.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And from a marketing point of view, the teams I've run in the past, if you've got looking at your kind of audience size and you're trying to work out what the percentage will be around click-through rates, if you've got heaps of dodgy, dirty data and duplicate records, you're inflating that. So your audience world is already on a level that it doesn't actually marry up with the truth, and it inflates everything. So great points there.
Yeah.
Some of your solutions, Mel.
Yeah. So thankfully there are some solutions to this problem. So with duplicate data, there are most off-the-shelf CRM tools now have really great duplicate checking algorithms that can be configured. So, when there is a duplicate record in your CRM, your team are notified when this is entering your database, which is great because this just means that it's more of a less manual process. So, and you are being notified when duplicate records are created. And I guess you can thereon choose whether to merge them or just really think about how you want to handle these records.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And your pro tip for number 4 data issue?
Yeah. So here, I guess starting out with your CRM, or even if you've had one for a long time, configuration is key.
Absolutely.
And, if you don't have the technical expertise in your business, for example, you don't have a Salesforce admin, you might need to look to third-party suppliers or ask for external help from experts, which is something that, Sensis Data Solutions can help with.
Don't pitch.
Yeah, no, but it's true. We can definitely help with that deduping process as well as merging duplicate customer records, which is awesome.
Fab. I know that there's so many CRM options out there. So some of actually most of them have their setup is already configured. But it's also just important to look at what that setup looks like, make sure it aligns to what you're trying to do. Sometimes they need to be localized if they are kind of more overseas based, customer based, they might have more customers in the US. So it's about getting that CRM optimized for what you need it for. And And if you get stuck, just get somebody to help you. It's my biggest tip there. Yeah, might not necessarily be Sensis Data Solutions, but if you've got another expert who does this every day, it's so much easier. Trust me, I've been there. So much easier. All right, number 5, inconsistent data. We're nearly on the home stretch, Mel. Take us away. Come on.
This is the lucky last one. I'm
Yeah.
so surprised. So inconsistent data, that is basically non-standardized data. And what that means is that the data is not in the right format. So for example, extra symbols in an email address or spaces between phone numbers. And, all of this can really impact the integrity of your database, as well as reducing the value of your data and what you can do with it. So going back to that example of phone numbers with spaces, if you're heavily sending out SMS campaigns to promote a service or reach your customers, the ROI of that SMS campaign might not be as, I guess, successful as you would like it to be, purely because your numbers aren't in the correct format. You might need it in a tight 10-digit format without spaces. And, if they have spaces and you're sending out these SMS campaigns, it might not be recognized by the system or the service provider. And this can result in your text message not being delivered or SMS bounce backs, which is not good.
Yeah, not good at all. My other just key tip is make sure they've opted in for SMS.
Yeah, good point.
That can be a little bit of a different opt-in. All right. Sorry,
Exactly.
marketer head coming in. All
No,
right,
that's an important point.
talk us through what the solutions are for this inconsistent data piece.
Yeah, so I would suggest integrating a live data validation tool upfront in your CRM or web form or app, just wherever you are collecting that data or asking people to input information. This just allows for that contact data to be accurate when it is captured, and it allows it to be stored in that consistent format before it hits your system and before you use it for whatever you need to, right? So if you have that live data validation tool that can look at removing the spaces for you, that's a really great option.
Yeah, amazing. Great stuff. All right,
Mm-hmm.
we've got our final pro tip of this webinar. All right.
Yes, lucky
Tell
last
me.
one. So this one's really exciting.
Yeah.
So when using a live data validation tool, someone can be typing in an unformatted phone number, including spaces and symbols. So this can be entered, but it can still be actually verifiable. So what the tool will do is that it'll strip out all non-numeric characters. It'll validate the phone number as active or inactive, and then return essentially a clean, standardized phone number that you can use for whatever you like.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to add to this. My other tip for this would be consider the CRM system that you're getting out of the box or from the SaaS solution. So they often have those kind of preset, or you can actually set them up as well, and it can do data cleaning on its own. So I've used some great tools in the past that you can, with a bit of configuration, your data can be cleansed overnight and it will just do it itself. But definitely check out validation at the front end. It's always the best practice. Fabulous. What a great 5 tips. So thanks, Mel, for putting those together.
My pleasure.
So whilst we have some questions that came through during our registration process, so I'm just going to bring them up. So I've got 2, and just in the interest of time, we might only be able to do one, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, I'm going to read the screen really bad. So one of respondents has said they've got about 100,000 customer records that haven't been checked in a while. It's a nice sized database. How can
Impressive.
share. How can I bulk cleanse this to ensure customer contact details are still valid and up to date? So what would be your thoughts around that, Mel?
Yeah, so I, have previously talked about live data validation tools. There are bulk data cleansing tools out there. We do provide our own, which is awesome. But essentially what this does is that it cleans your database in batches. So whether, you have 10,000 records or 100,000 records, it can do this in large volumes, which is awesome. And it just validates the data to ensure that, the information is as current and complete as possible. It'll verify customers' emails, mobile numbers, physical addresses where they live, and yeah, so much more. So what happens is that outdated fields are corrected and invalid fields are highlighted. And yeah, you can either choose to accept them or reject them or decide whatever you would like to do with this new clean data. But yeah, it's really great. So you could work with your, I guess, data partner to figure out what works best for you, whether you want those records corrected on the spot or whether you just like them, for example, in a column next to it. Yeah, but that's what
Yeah,
I
awesome.
would recommend for, a database of that size.
Fab. I would suggest if you have a smaller database to look at kind of doing a campaign, I say campaign, but more of a what I like to call an unsubscribe activity. So you're trying to get your customers to unsubscribe, but also if they are really interested in finding out more about you or whether it's through a newsletter, is just getting them to revalidate their details. So, is this correct for you at the moment? This works really well, and I've used it especially in the education space. So it just means that you've then got a really juicy database that's got lots more information, but it's also customer driven as well. So that bit of push pull activity always works. All right. So I am going to jump on our last question. So we've got about 10 minutes left. So is there a way to validate business data or business data lists? So what I'm assuming here is that if you've purchased a business list from a data provider, and sometimes that data actually can be pretty inaccurate. I've had experiences with this in the past. Is there a way that you can also then bulk validate that business data?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So, there are a few businesses out there who do specialize in business data and are able to validate that, which is great. Here at Sensis Data Solutions, we are only specialized in consumer data, which we find is of higher volume to us. So we do have multiple up-to-date comprehensive data sources that we use to validate and enhance consumer databases in particular.
Yeah, awesome. Fabulous. And also with businesses, I guess they don't change too much. So, we've been in the same building. So, if they've changed, it's obviously a lot easier to find them. All right. Fabulous. Thanks, Mel.
That's all right.
So I'm going to just do a quick wrap up and some final words and some final tips from us both. So just to confirm, our 5 common data issues are outdated data, incomplete, inaccurate, duplicate, and inconsistent data. So they're the 5 most common.
Yeah.
If we're looking at next steps and where to go, if you're just looking at your data-driven journey, my advice is start with clean data on entry into your CRM system. So whether that is using a live validation tool from a third party or actually configuring your CRM to kind of start cleaning that data on entry. So that's the most important piece as part of that. But just your pre-step is to define your strategy around how you're going to use the data. So I think whether you're a big business or a small business, having a data strategy is essential because then you know how you're going to use it and make sure you get everybody involved. So whether that's sales, marketing, operations, no matter how big your business is, to make sure that the data is working for everyone because it'll keep everyone a lot happier. So that is my top tips. And obviously, once you've got the data, Mel, you're the expert in this space. So what would be your next kind of process around that?
Yeah, so my second step would be just ensuring your customer data remains clean and accurate. Like, yes, it might be valid and correct upon entry, but naturally over time, people's details change. So you need to wash your database in bulk by just conducting regular audits on the validity of your customers, phone numbers, email addresses, and physical addresses, and much more.
Fab. All right, well, we're done. Our webinar is over. So thank you everybody for joining. Really lovely to kind of distantly meet you through the screen. We've had some wonderful questions, so we will be following up to you guys directly. And also we'll be adding kind of FAQs on our site to help support what we've just been talking about. We are all over LinkedIn. So as B2B marketers, so if you would like to engage with us, please follow us. Our details are on the screen. And if you would like to follow us as individuals or us as a business, please do. We'd be really happy to have new friends on board. So a big thank you from me for joining us. Thank you so much, Mel, for all your wonderful insights into dirty data. I know this is a space that you're passionate about, so thank you for putting this wonderful pack together.
That's all right.
And we hope you guys can join us next time, and we will talk about business data and more about your external business data. So essentially what works with white pages, but we'll leave that to them. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We'll speak to you later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.